I think of a goal as something you want to accomplish. It is that simple. And what I think people get wrong is they go after things, but without really taking into consideration what it is that they want.
Welcome to the show, Deb. It's great to have you on the show, and I'm amazed that I haven't invited you before. I think you're one of these people I thought I'd invited, but you never have been on. And you run Goal Chat, the Twitter chat. I'm not sure if it's still on Twitter or if it's still called Goal Chat. You are a goal person. What is? I mean, you. The main thing you specialise in is goal setting and that kind of stuff. So, would you say goal setting consultant, or how would you describe yourself in terms of the goal stuff?
Well, I like goal strategist, but goal whisperer also works for me.
Yeah.
Right. I've been leading goal setting workshops and coaching people for a while.
Yeah.
I'm working. I was reading through the proof of my book that comes out in January, and it said, Deborah's been doing this for 30 years, and I felt like really old. So, or nearly.
Yeah.
Right. But before I've been in LA for 27 years, the end of this month, and I started doing the goal thing back when I worked for Barnes & Noble in Schaumburg when I lived in Chicago suburbs. And what had happened, and you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. So whenever I need to fill my calendar, I would hang out in the cafe. And one day someone said, would you start a writer support group? And for me, that meant, okay, what are you working on? How can we support you?
Yeah.
What are you going to do for next time? And it was such a hit. And I would also be setting and achieving goals. So I saw the power of it from both perspectives, as both the host and one of the participants. Fast forward, moved to LA, restarted the group, reinvented the group. Right on is for writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs. But the other thing that came out of it is people would say, you're good at this, Deb.
Yeah.
Again, I've been trying for years to write my book. Can I hire you to help me? And we got it done in 3 months. Or, Deb, you're good at this. Will you speak at my event? And my background is in communications and project management. So it all everything kind of fit together really, really nicely. And then in 2018, I rebranded as the Deb Method because my name worked with the system that I've been teaching.
Oh, okay.
So, and then it was also kind of like, okay, this is the all-in moment. Found an agent, actually one came to me. I was planning to self-publish What Became Your Goal Guide. And he asked me, what is your goal? And I said, to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal. And he's like, send me your book proposal. Let's get it out to the world. So that is the long, short version of how I became Goal Girl. But it's really, there's just such magic when you claim what you're going to do and take the steps to make it happen. And so Goal Whisperer works as well, because I will talk to people. People know the answers, but they don't necessarily ask themselves the right questions. So that's what I'm there for.
Okay. So
that was a lot.
No, it's fine. It's just left all these little questions and things I can ask, little threads I can pull. But let's get the most basic definition out of the way for anybody. I mean, I think everybody knows what a goal is, but there's probably a specific definition of what a goal is, and you will be the person who knows. So how would you define a goal, and are there things that people get wrong about what they think about when they're thinking about goals?
I think of a goal as something you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
It is that simple. And what I think people get wrong is they go after things, but without really taking into consideration what it is that they want.
Yeah.
So what I teach is foundation, which I do through my workshop, my books, my working with clients, et cetera, et cetera. And it's Deb is determine your mission, You can't get what you want unless you know what that is. E is explore your options. So, okay, you want this life, but what does that actually mean in terms of what you're going to do to get it? And then brainstorm your path happens after you really identified what you're working towards. And then you put everything out there, personal, professional goals, easy goals, dream goals, the whole shebang, and then divide and conquer, make a plan and turn it into reality. And I use the tagline goal setting simplified because I believe changing your life is challenging enough. So I made the instructions really easy. And that's really what it's all about. People don't take that time to really explore what they want to accomplish. And when you do that, then the world just completely opens up. There's one other thing people do really wrong, and it's kind of like later in the process, but I feel compelled. I'm going to share it now.
Yeah.
It's
Go ahead.
they don't look at their life and see what they could fit into it.
Yeah.
So if you've got a full-time job and family commitments, and especially so this is December, end of the year,
Mhm.
everybody seems to have a lot of extra things going on, and you can't do as much when you've got extra obligations, whether they're, things that you want to do or have to do or whatever. When you look at your life and say, okay, I want to do this. My life is like this. I can commit like an hour a week to work towards things that I want my life to become. Great. You don't have to do more than that. If you say, well, I really need to do like 5 hours, but your life is booked, you're not going to do 5 hours. You're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to bail.
Yeah.
That's not okay either.
Okay. So let's talk about all the letters in the DEB method. Then the define part. I'm going to forget the last two, but it's like
Determine your mission, right?
yeah. So how do you because obviously you could set goals. You can set all sorts of goals. I could say I want to climb Mount Everest next month or whatever. But how do
Are
you
you going
filter that?
to?
No, I'm not. But you how do you filter out? How do you work out what the goals you should be setting are? So I suppose at the definition stage.
Right. Okay. So there are like 5 components in each of the letters of the DEB. And usually
Yeah.
when I teach, we really do focus on the D because everything comes from there. That's the groundwork. So determine your mission starts with visualization. When you think about the life you want, what does that look like? It's very much intent focused. And a lot of people don't actually like the word goal. So if you prefer, this is what I intend to accomplish, whichever euphemism for goal
Yeah.
that you can live with, use that one. Resolution, whatever, right? So, but think about what does the life you want look like? Are you building a business? Are you switching careers? Do you want balance? Do you want to write a book or start a blog or something to promote your thought leadership? And what are you doing? Are you on stage? Are you employee of the month? Are you vacationing with your family in some dream location? And you, as someone who I know travels a ton,
Yeah.
I mean, I just see like your visualization in a sense is like you in front of a map because that is something that you enjoy, but also that defines you, that you're out in the world,
Yeah.
right? So you start with that. And then it goes into you want to write your current bio in the third person, in the present tense. Obviously, it's current, but that'll make sense in a second. But also aspirational.
Yeah.
So maybe you've got a day job, but you're building a side hustle. I want the bio for the side hustle, really leaning into it. And then your future bio. Future could be in a year, by your next birthday, 5 years. You could do several versions, but again, third person in the present tense, it gives it power. So what are you building and what are people going to be saying about you? So start with that visual, where you are now, where you're going. And now we write the mission statement, which is who you are, what makes you unique, and how you help. In that last piece, the how you help, that is the fuel. So And it can be to inform or to entertain, but it can also be create a product or a service. Whatever it is, you've got that extra motivation. And if you do it right, your mission statement is going to be very long and clunky.
Yeah.
So, for example, mine is something to the effect of use my experience, books, workshops, everything to help as many people as possible figure out what they want and how to get it so they can live a happier, more fulfilled life and help more people.
Yeah.
So again, really clunky, but that's where the motto comes in, which is the fifth step. You want to shorten it into something that is the essence of you. And so mine is goal setting simplified. So everything I create is with that simple mindset, right? And it can be like a title, it could be a theme song. But the thing about your motto is that's what's going to keep you on track. So on your goal journey, whatever you're working towards, you've got a decision tree
Yeah.
that's at your fingertips. Is this in alignment with what I want to accomplish? Yes, great. No. Is there another benefit? Yes, great. If not, no. So that is really how you start with what you want to build for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. And is there ever a case of like identifying your goals or whatever you want to call them, ambitions, and then realizing you do need to drop other things in your life to do that? Is that part of this? Is this part of the D, or is this later on in the?
Well, this goes into like the strategies for success.
Yeah.
So, but part of it too is okay. So we explore the D and then explore your options. I start with directed journaling.
Yeah.
So this is you set 3, 4, 5, 15-minute sessions with yourself where you're just free writing. And it could be like a simple what's next, or it could be how do I build this business, or it could be how do I become a thought leader, whatever it is. But you're doing this free writing a few times and don't read it until after you finish it, because then you can go back and read it fresh and find the common themes. Something you thought really held your interest, you barely mentioned, but something that you thought was fleeting, you kept writing about. Those are the things you need to pay attention to. And then as you're exploring, okay, I went through this exercise, I picked 10 things, I narrowed it down to 5 or 3, whatever, and then do some research. That's part of it too. It's what experiences and what skills and experiences do you have, and how do they translate to what you want to do? I like the example of, and I always use food even before I became, a reformed non-cook. But it's, if you want to win Master Chef, great. Can you cook? Excellent. You're a little bit closer. If you can't cook, then you have to add that learning how into your process. So it's the same thing. If you want to make a lateral move for your career, but you need some extra education, you need to look at what you can swap out to get your skill set up to pursue this.
Okay. So I've already forgotten with my goldfish-like memory what the E stands for. So let's talk about the E and what that represents in the DEB method.
Okay. So explore your options. You start with this brainstorming thing and then narrow it down and then look to your network, do some research, see who's doing the things that you want to explore and have a conversation, or reach out to your connectors, people like you and me who know a lot of people, because very rarely has someone reached out to me and I don't say I don't know. I could say, let me find someone who can help you. So look to those people and really dive into what you need to do to make whatever of these goals happen. And then narrow it down. And by narrowing it down, it's prioritizing. Think of we're at the end of the year. What are you celebrating now that you accomplished last year? And what do you want to be celebrating a year from now? and then reverse engineer it. What do you need to get done to make it happen? So you want things that are realistic, but you also want to live this great life that you want, right? You've done the work. Great. You've figured out what it is. What steps do you need to take? What do you need to do? What do you need to let go of to make the time for some of these things? And that's pretty much the E is. So by the end of the E, you've got an idea of your long-term goals and what short-term goals are going to support that.
Okay. And what does the B stand for again?
It's brainstorm your path.
Oh, yeah, brainstorming. Okay.
Right?
So that's presumably the final part. Is that the final part of the method?
Well, yes and no. It's the final part of the prep. So the idea is you want to put everything out there, and that includes personal goals, because personal and professional goals, they go hand in hand. And what the idea is, you've got to see, I see a chart. You can't see it, but I do. It's the action items lead to the benchmarks. The benchmarks make up the short-term goals, and the short-term goals come together to make up the long-term goals. So the idea is to write down everything in divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So you want everything categorized so you know which action items you need to take to get to the benchmarks, etc. And I always say you want like 3 long-term goals that are personal and professional, and then 3 short-term goals, personal and professional. So this is what you want to write out and put on your desk or wherever every day to look at. So you are keeping your eye on the prize.
Yeah. So can you tell us what you've got on the wall behind you? What are the big... Have you got 3 big goals there that you're doing at the moment that you can tell us about, or is that classified?
Oh, nothing is classified. And the way that I do, and someone asked me about this the other day, so I actually have an answer. Yay! Is rather than always identify at the beginning of the year what is going to be, my long-term goal is to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal. Yeah. And I do a lot of different initiatives throughout the year. A year ago was the seed of an idea. That book is coming out in January 15th. Yeah. Or I'm sorry, January 14th. January 15th is the launch party. I keep mixing things up. But I started having conversations with my publisher about a year ago saying, isn't it time we do another book together? I've got ideas.
Yeah.
And then we met the beginning of the year a few times. And then in March, I sent her the book proposal. And then it was like the first week in June, I got the green light. And I said, and the book is called 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting: How to Stay Focused, Grow Your Network, and Get More Done in Less Time. And I said, great, it's a January book. When do you need it for it to come out in January? And she said August 1st. And I said, done. And then Brenda said, Deb, you have to do things like sleep and eat and things, right? And I said, but it's a January book. It's New Year, New You. And for this project, I interviewed 60 leaders in business, tech, writing, food, entertainment. So like I do with my Goal Chat live show, where I bring in people who don't necessarily know each other for conversation, that's pretty much what the book is. So in answer to your question, what I've got planned is just changing the way people look at goals. And part of that is through this book. People think goals is a 4-letter word, and it is, but it's the good kind. And what I've done with this project is gathered advice from a lot of different perspectives, categorized it in 7 different ways, and whatever inspiration you need, you could go to the book and see what you need to read right now. I mean, you can also read it straight through. I'm not going to stop anybody from doing that. But the idea is creating yet another resource that's going to serve as inspiration and motivation. So, did I answer your question? So my question is really, my answer is I'm really excited about this, but I also want people to keep in mind that for me, this book is the beginning. I see this book as a series. So if you've got a tip for goal setting and goal getting, you can go to 50secretsbook.com and submit it, because you could end up in the next edition.
Ooh.
You never know, right?
Yeah. Is that book behind you that for people who are watching it? Is that the new book or is that an older book?
This is the one that came out in January 2020.
Ooh.
So your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals. And the first half of this book goes through the DEB method in detail with exercises. There are worksheets in the back. And then the second half is strategies for success.
Yeah.
And the book has a road trip theme, which you, the traveler, I'm sure you can appreciate. I was able to batch goals into 4 categories of, start or grow a business, up-level your career, become a thought leader, achieve work-life balance. And there are a lot of different things you can do, but pretty much everything will fall into one of those buckets. And I think the big thing with goals is you don't have to do everything and you don't have to do a lot, but you have to do a little.
Yeah.
Because the thing with goals is take the time, think about the life you want, what you're going to do to build it, and then work on it a little at a time, because you don't know. And then it's going to grab momentum and then go. But in the meantime, even if you're working 15 minutes a few days a week just on these aspirations, you're going to get somewhere. You can't help it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you the obvious question for me, which you probably already... No, well, you haven't mentioned it specifically, but procrastination. I'm a terrible procrastinator. For all sorts of reasons, I won't do things even though they're kind of towards a goal. How does your method help with procrastination, or is that something you feel that is beyond the scope of the book, or is the focus, is the writing part of the way of overcoming procrastination?
I think if you're working on the things that are exciting you, you're not going to procrastinate them. And I just had this question a couple weeks ago. I did a fireside chat after an interview, and someone said, I have this client that I cannot bring myself to work on.
Yeah.
And I said, sandwich it. Do something you love first so you get your energy up. Do the thing, and then you could reward yourself by doing something else that you enjoy. So I think the reward system does wonders for procrastination, but you also have to think about, why are you procrastinating? Maybe this thing is a not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to back burner it. There are any number of different things that we could be working on at any given time. Another thing that helps with procrastination is having an alpha and a beta project. So if you've got 2 things that you're working on in tandem, if you feel stuck, you always have something to jump on.
Yeah.
And you can mix and match. You could do personal and professional. You can do things that support each other. Another thing that I do is I'm a book proposal consultant. So I help people, like with their goals, format their ideas in a way where their idea is unique, and this is how they're going to present it to the world. But if you've got a nonfiction book that you are writing, and you want to publish traditionally, I should add that one, because I know a lot of your readers self-publish. Even if you self-publish, this is something that you need because you're creating a roadmap for your book. So you could be working on the proposal while you are developing your author platform or writing the sample chapters or whatever it is. But they're 2 different projects that together they're going to enhance your career, get you closer to your goals. Same thing like building a blog or website or podcast. I don't care what you want to do in thought leadership, you need a website and either a blog, a podcast, video show, or a combination thereof. And those are things you can also work on in tandem with whatever you're doing. Even if you're looking for a job and you want to uplift your expertise, you can have the job search be part of it, and developing your website is another. So if you always have more than one thing that you're working on. You always have something in motion, and that should help with the procrastination. There, I tied it back.
Okay. I can't end this interview without talking about all the 101 other things you do. Because I know you're a bit like me. You've got loads of different things you do. You write, do you still write about food? I know you've got a little Facebook group about food. So, well, just talk about what you do with food, like presumably.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I am a former non-cook who's now a food writer and food podcaster. So I host the Taste Buds with Deb podcast, and these are bite-sized conversations about food, cooking, and community.
Yeah.
And that to me it's fun because I'm not just interviewing chefs and cookbook authors. I will do actors. I will do producers. One of the really fun ones that I did earlier this year was with Jamie Pacino, who was a consulting producer on So Help Me Todd.
Yeah.
And it was like food was another character because they had the family dinners every week. I don't think they would go a scene or two without there being some food involved. So this was an opportunity to talk about food. And as it turned out, she's also a playwright. And she's like, I noticed that food is in everything that I do. So I get to talk about food in the non-traditional way, which is the way that I like. And then I also host, so I'm not doing the Gold Chat Twitter chat anymore, but Gold Chat Live, which came out of the Twitter chat, is what I do. So every Monday at 4 Pacific, I bring together 3 guests. As I said before, unless it's on purpose, they don't know each other. And it's just a great conversation that we let other people watch.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing with that, so in January and February, my guests are all achievers who've shared tips in the book. So it'll be fun to bring those people together as well.
Yeah. So if money was no object, would you rather do the food side of things or the goal side of things? Or is it a false choice?
Mean.
Or is it a false choice?
I would just keep doing it. I really feel strongly that goals can change people's lives. One of the other, so I do one-on-one coaching for the goals in the book proposals. I do speaking to organizations and companies on it. And one of my favorite ways to work with companies is to do these goal workshops around annual review time.
Yeah.
Because we start with, okay, what did you accomplish? Now let's take an inventory. What do you want to work on? And it could be that the employee has like a side project or a hobby or a family, something or other, which is fine, which is great. Or maybe they want to move up the ladder. But if you don't take time to identify it, you can't work it in to the way that you work. Businesses work much better when everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction. And the companies that identify that supporting their people's goals, whether it's inside or outside of the company, you're going to have a loyal, enthusiastic team member.
Yeah.
So that when I say I want to change goal culture in and out of the workplace, that's what I mean. So whether you're working for people or yourself, or you've got a side hustle or a hobby or something, find the thing. What is going to bring you joy and do more of that? Money is no object. I start the Deb channel, where I could be me and talk to people 24/7, but also not just inspire people to achieve their goals, but give them very simple things that they can do. Whether it's through my book or through the tips, we always gift a goal at the end of Goal Chat. So people can do even just the littlest things, as I said before, are going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay. So
can I give you a goal? I want to know what you're procrastinating. Let's fix you.
I'm procrastinating about getting some electrical work done on my house for some reason. I don't know why, but well, fixes, like there's a few lights and things that need fixing, and for years I've been putting it off, and I don't really know why. But
Is there a small piece of the project you can do, or is it a big project?
well, I mean, in some ways, I suppose the smallest thing is calling an electrician, but that's kind of the thing that I'm procrastinating on, which is a bit weird. Though I suppose I could start looking up electricians and things.
Or you could say, I'm not even going to think about it for a month. I'm giving myself the rest of December and January off. And in February, I'm going to start looking up electricians to get the ball rolling on it. But until then, I'm not going to focus any energy on the procrastination. I'm going to put the energy on the things that I want to do.
Yeah. So is that kind of like, you think with procrastination, it's the thinking about it is the problem in a way? Is that what you kind of saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
it takes too much brain space. The other thing, and I mentioned this before, I have something I call the 5 of 7 rule. So a lot of people who talk goals say, oh, don't break the chain, work towards your goals every day. I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah.
You can think about them every day, but if all you have is a couple days a week to work towards them, claim the time, put in the calendar, and then also, and this is helpful, you can do it like as a win list, like a document, or just put in the calendar when you've worked on things, what you've worked on.
Yeah.
So at the end of the week and the month, and you're like, I'm not getting anywhere, you could just look and, oh, wow, look what I did. So that also in the motivation will keep you moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a big question at the end to finish. If you were able to design the perfect company or organization, how would they deal with goals? Would it be like, it sounds like goals would be central to the organization. What would that look like?
I love this question, and believe it or not, I don't think anybody's ever asked me it that specifically. So thank you for that. I would say if you're infusing a goal culture, it starts with and I say the end of the year because I like to do a running start. So at the end of the year, you do bring in a me to do a goal workshop to really identify the wins of your team and set goals for the new year. And then even once a month, the end of the month, just to do a check-in where everybody talks about very similar to my early goal group. What have you accomplished?
Yeah.
What resources do you need? What assistance do you need? And what are you working on for next time? And doing all that will build to creating something. So even, and we'll take it a step further. Maybe the company gives the employees 5 hours a week, and it could be 1 block or an hour a day or whatever, to just work on things that advance themselves.
Yeah.
That would be good too.
Okay, well, it's been great to have you on the show. We didn't get to talk about food enough, but we talked about goals, which is
well, make some food goals. When I first started getting obsessed with cooking, I said, I want to learn how to cook without a recipe. That's my goal for the year. And then someone corrected me and said, Deb, don't you think you should learn to cook with a recipe first?
Yeah.
So you do. That's a great reminder. You do need to do the steps.
Yeah.
Right. You can't be a master chef unless you know how to cook.
Yeah.
But I think cooking goals are also, and we didn't really talk about personal goals, but whatever it is, if it's a lifestyle change, you're not going to map it out the same way as you would a project goal, which you do for professional, but you can make a list of what are all the things you want to be healthier. Okay, I have to go to the grocery, I have to cook, I have to look up recipes, I have to do my planning, all these things that you're doing on more of an ongoing basis. I like cooking goals because it's the best way to disconnect.
Yeah.
So you can't be scrolling or looking at email or checking notifications while you are cooking. You can, while it cooks, That's why I love my Instant Pot, because you put in ingredients and then you could do things and then you're rewarded. But that quiet time, it's creative time, and you could do it with cooking. Apparently people are good at gardening. I am not, but, or whatever sort, what is the thing that you love? Knitting. You can't scroll and knit. I can't knit either. So find one thing that you could do that's disconnected, like cooking. And you don't have to cook every day. I mean, there are ways to batch things, but to give yourself that personal time, that break a few times a week to just disconnect and be at one with the food, it's going to energize you. And again, you get food.
Okay. Well, we have talked about food now.
Yay.
So thanks so much for being the guest. I would say thanks to all the live viewers, but we didn't go live anywhere in the end. But that's a whole nother learning moment for me. I fingers crossed all the recording has worked okay. So thanks for any viewers in the future who watch this on YouTube or listen to the audio podcast. I don't think we, apart from Deb's book, which we, Your Goal Guide, which we pointed out at one point, none of the audio listeners would be confused. So thanks so much for being on the show, and I'm going to attempt to play the outro and finish the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And if you're finding me, connect on LinkedIn or go to thedebmethod.com. Learn more. I
totally forgot that obvious question. I always ask, how can people find out about you? So you've said most of them. Talk about how many books, what are all your books called? Assuming you haven't written 15 books or anything.
No, well, I've got my first 2 books I e-published.
Yeah.
So the first is Purple Pencil Adventures, Writing Prompts for Kids of All Ages. The second is Write on Blogging, 51 Tips to Create, Write, and Promote Your Blog. And then Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals. That's the one that goes through the DEB method in the first half, and then strategies for success. And then if you want even more strategies, you can grab a copy of 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, How to Stay Focused, Grow Your Network, and Get More Done in Less Time, because you got to love a good keyword-rich subtitle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is out January 14th. And so you can go to thedebmethod.com to learn about me, my show, my coaching, etc. And you can go to 52secretsbook.com to learn more about the achievers and also to stay in touch.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
This is what God requires.